Hello, welcome back. It's week 105 on Out on That Line. I'm Jeff with my co-host Alex. As always, Alex, how you doing this week?
I'm well, Jeffrey. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing very well because this week we've got an album that I think we were waiting a little bit for. We got a little excited to get this one on the podcast. It's going to be Margo Price and the new album Strays. Now, did this one come out is this a 2023 or is this a 2022?
This is 2023, Bakery
All right.
Fresh.
So, I mean, has to be considered. I mean, obviously, this early, it's going to be considered for album of the year, all those awards. So, it's going to be at least top two, right? Because it's the second album we've done.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like fantasy football where
Exactly.
everybody's in first place for a while. And then,
And then the games start getting played, and Jeff is in like seventh place.
Gradually you fall out of favor with the gods. And then you're
Yeah, and there's just digging out of that hole. They always give you hope.
Keep digging out that hole.
Yeah. Hope is the worst thing to happen to you every time.
Because hope is not a plan. There's nothing you can do.
Well, we do have a little bit of hope on one front. Do you like that segue? That was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good. So Ticketmaster, there's now like hearings taking place with Congress about this whole thing. And it was all catalyzed by Taylor Swift and all of her fans having a complete meltdown over the non-functionality of that Ticketmaster software for them to all be able to get tickets. The prices skyrocketed immediately because they sold out. And then obviously Ticketmaster allows you to resell on their sites, which they charge another fee for. And so one of the guys from the band Lawrence, or the Brothers Lawrence, I forget what the band name is called. So he's one of the ones that's kind of providing testimony here. And he sort of went into, and I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I should have thought of getting those, but I'll give you the gist of what he was saying is kind of when you have a band that books at a Ticketmaster venue, and they're almost all Ticketmaster venues, like that's part of the problem here, is that you can't really have a legitimate nationwide tour without a ton of hassle unless you book at Ticketmaster venues, and they don't want you to play anywhere else on those tours. So you just hit the cities where they have their venues, and they're in every city, and there's always a lot of them. You go there and Ticketmaster charges them out of what they pay them a bunch of fees, facilities fees, charging. I think he mentioned $250 for a stack of clean towels, that they weren't going to take with them. It's not like they were buying the towels. It was just the use of the towels. And I guess the $250 was to make sure they were clean and folded. Things like providing the food in the dressing room. So, the coffee and tea or, beer, wine, whatever it is they're drinking beforehand, they get that provided, but it's part of some facilities fees. So it's the sort of thing where Ticketmaster is making the artists pay them for things that the artist has no opportunity to negotiate with, by the way. Like there's not like somebody negotiating on behalf of the artists with a conglomerate the size of Ticketmaster. Pearl Jam has tried this. Like Taylor Swift has taken her shot. Now it's not like this has never been done before where bands have like kind of tried to take a stand against Ticketmaster. I think social media, obviously, it's the kind of idea of sunlight kind of heals all, or sunlight exposes all truth, whatever it is. Social media has kind of caused an accelerated pace when it comes to, justice issues, environmental issues, things like that. And I think all of Taylor Swift's fans being very online made sure that this happened very quickly after they were the ones that got slighted by all of it. But there's legitimate gripes by these artists that they're like really forced to play these venues and don't really have an option otherwise.
Well, first of all, I would just like to congratulate the Swifties because apparently they are a more effective governmental organization than the literal United States government. They made this happen. So first of all, my little schoolboy cap and fall scarf off to you, Swifties, because no one can take away from you that you are nothing if not ruthlessly efficient in defending someone. We love it. It's good to see. So if there's anything we take away from the Ticketmaster situation, I hope it's that Swifties get it done.
And I honestly have got nothing bad to say about Taylor Swift on this episode. First time to like mark it down in the history books. Like honestly, nothing bad to say. So we're going to kind of keep up with this. I think it's going to be a lot of hearings. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth because like Ticketmaster isn't going to be giving up that money very easily. So they're going to throw every lawyer they can at it. They're going to throw every single like favor they have to pull with legislators wherever they can to kind of make sure that they keep their hands on as much of that money as they possibly can. But if you look at what the artists have to deal with, it's really, really tough to see where Ticketmaster has a leg to stand on with, trying to say that they're not taking advantage of and monopolizing basically the entire concert touring industry.
Yeah, it's as a Frank Zappa fan, I never thought, see, I got it in. I never thought that I would live long enough to see Taylor Swift take up his legacy of when he fought the PMRC, who were trying to put stickers on albums. My beloved Prince, it was all his fault. It was the song Darling Nikki. He didn't show up and testify. Frank Zappa did. Dee Snider of Twisted Sister did. And Mr. Sunshine on his shoulders, John Denver did. Those three stood up and took it on the chin, and now it's Taylor's turn. So again, hats off to Taylor Swift and the Swifties. I wish you good fortune in the wars to come.
Yeah, I really, really do, because I'm sick of paying so much money for concert tickets. So I hope whatever they do, they're able to get this done and break it up. Like, it's like, dude, like 5 or 6 smaller companies that just manage like regional venues, like whatever, but just like do something.
We're going to have to follow the story. And if you guys want to follow the story, you know what you have to do. You have to like and subscribe and comment on the YouTube, which you're on ostensibly right now watching it. If you're hearing this, run on over. It is youtube.com/C/out on that line. But if you're here watching us, why haven't you brought a friend with you to the sermon this week? Next week, as your pendants, go out and do 4. We need you to like aggressively insist that people watch this. Like, don't let up. It's like that people gotta give skit from I Think You Should Leave. And if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people give. So give till it hurts on youtube.com/C/out on that line. Tell them Jeff sent you. Don't get me involved.
You should clip that, and we should use that for the plug every single time. That was beautifully done.
You can make a channel trailer. We could do that.
Yes, I think that's a good idea, because I could not have done that better.
I felt like I was hovering inside my body.
Yeah, so we'll follow along with the whole Ticketmaster saga. It's fun to follow along with. It's very interesting. Obviously applies for us, so keep up with it on our channel. But let's get right to why we're here this week, and let's talk a little bit about one of the very first artists that we ever covered on this podcast, Margo Price, and her new album, Strays. So going into this, like, I was expecting a very country record, just because that's kind of what I was used to from Margo Price, but I think what we ended up getting, and I'm there's some points that I'm going to bring up in a little bit here about like kind of why that might be, is we got something that I wasn't expecting at all from Margo Price. There was like Margo Price meets like Led Zeppelin at some points. Margo Price meets like Gordon Lightfoot at some points. For me, it was just is this her second album or third?
This is her fourth.
This is her fourth. Okay. Yeah. So to me, it seems like she's progressing. I think like a lot of artists that kind of started in that country vein, like they start to kind of stretch out against those walls a little bit and try to figure out what other sounds they might be able to bring into that. And I really, really love where some of these artists are taking that.
Yeah, it's cool to watch. Like, I mean, Your Mileage May Vary was something like Sturgill Simpson, Sound and Fury. That's what it's called, right?
Yes.
Because I was one of those Your Mileage May Vary people. Like, I love Make Art Not Friends. That's a great song. But yeah, kind of watching these people that are, I don't want to say pigeonholed, because again, you got people like Tyler Childers who are proud to be country, but you have these people who kind of over time, I think, can't help but bend, because country is one of the like most structured genres, but it's a tremendous launching pad, because starting out, you get out these really personal stories, and that's like you're just kind of focused on writing what you know and getting that out there, and country's a great genre for it. And
Mhm.
then when you kind of have the room and the capital behind you where you can just like artistically push the envelope with your sound, that's another entirely like beautiful thing. And it's great to see Margo Price doing it here because
Mhm.
she fucking rocks. She's so good.
Yeah.
She's so good.
I really, and she rocked on Midwest Farmer's Daughter too, the one that we did, like, one I think was that the first episode? I think that was the very first episode.
First or second, but we did That's How Rumors Get Started.
That's right, we did. I don't know why I just have such a blind spot for, like, I think because I just put her music on, and
Oh yeah.
I don't really pay attention to, like, which album necessarily. I think the That's How Rumors Get Started was the only one that I'd, like, sat down and listened to all the way through, and wasn't just, like, I'd picked out from other spots. But it really, like, I just thought the way that this album was structured, and I knew right off the bat, that first song was like, I got very Sound and Fury sort of vibes by Sturgill Simpson. I think he went a little heavier on a lot of that album than she
For
did
sure.
here. But it really was branching way out from just your normal country. It was definitely that, like, kind of cosmic country in a lot of spots. It was very traditional at the same time. The way the harmonies were, it might not have been the most traditional song, but the song she did with Sharon Van Etten, the harmonies they did in that were fantastic.
Yeah, there was just like yeah, let's start with the first song.
Yeah.
Like this album opener. I'll be completely honest with you, all of you. That song started and I went, "Oh fuck." I really did not like it the first
Mhm.
3 times through. I really didn't. But it's like Captain Beefheart. Eventually you kind of like lock in on, you're like, "I get it now." It's just a hell of a way to open the album, like
Mhm.
these like psychedelic rock kind of influences to get us in there. And then we're all over the map. Like you hit on people like Zeppelin. I heard Elvis Costello. I
Mhm.
heard Warren Zevon. I heard like classic 90s radio friendly female country, like
Yes.
Shania Twain.
Yes.
There was a lot going on this, but it was like quintessentially Margo Price. I love her
Mhm.
so much. She's so great, dude. I saw her in concert with Dante. He's who got me into her.
Yeah, that's gotta be, I mean, she's gotta be fantastic
Dude,
live.
she had this like buckskin fringed white jacket and white cowboy boots, and she walked into the audience with a fucking spotlight on her, and she had roses and she was handing them out to people. And Dante and I are two big guys. We probably could have cut a swath to get a rose from Margo Price, but we didn't. We let the smaller people have the honor.
Yeah, well, they don't get a lot in life.
Let them have it.
Yeah, you gotta let them have a win once in a while there.
Sure, exactly. We're looking out for the little guy.
Yeah. I think the way, and what I was gonna bring up before is the producer on this album, Jonathan Wilson. So because this was such a different sound than I was used to hearing from her, like, she'd kind of touched on this stuff a little bit, sort of like when Sturgill had Sailor's Guide to Earth, and you were like, oh, this is a little different. This is funky. There was a lot of different styles on that. And then you went into Sound and Fury, and you're like, oh, because he was just like starting to tap the boundaries a little bit. And I think that's what we got with That's How Rumors Get Started, and then moving into this one. So the Jonathan Wilson, first thing I read about him is he's located and based out of Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles. So
That makes a ton of
famously
sense.
a haven for singer-songwriters like the Mamas and the Papas. I think the Eagles spent a lot of time there. Just Janis Joplin probably spent a lot of, there's a lot of folks that
Zappa.
Zappa, I mean, of
Zappa
course,
was kicking around Laurel
he
Canyon.
probably hated everybody there.
He hated everybody anyway.
Yeah, if that was probably such a miserable place for him.
I'm sure he resented his mother for having him and his children for being born, which sounds mean, but I think if you're a Frank Zappa fan, you know I'm absolutely correct.
Yeah, yeah. I think he was just an all-time great hater. I think is
He was
really
the great hater.
more than a musician. He was a hater.
Yep, big time player here. We love it. Anyway,
So that was the kind of vibe that I immediately kind of picked up on this album is I was like, she's definitely taking some drugs. There's probably something a little more than weed that was going on with making this album. And finding out the producer was based in Laurel Canyon, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And then I looked at some other folks that he's produced for. Father John Misty.
Also makes a
speaking
lot
of
of sense.
speaking of drugs, Florence and the Machine. Let's see, scroll down here. I mean, it's pretty much all that so far, but like that's enough for me to understand this guy's got a vibe. You hear a lot of country artists get produced by guys like Dave Cobb, and he's kind of the it guy right now when it comes to that sort of alternative country. But when you want to talk about somebody that's like a different style of music, I guess this guy is your guy. This is your what's the guy's name from Bleachers?
Jack Antonoff.
Jack Antonoff. Like he does all the like the pop girlies. This guy seems like he's going to be the one that does when you want to make your real like California record, like you go to this guy.
Interesting. Because yeah, that's definitely all over this one. And to me, in no place more than my favorite song on the album, and it's just the gut wrencher, County Road.
Yeah, buddy.
Like she's not a California girl, but you get that kind of like lonely out in like the canyon, lonely out in the valley, lonely out in the city. It's lonely out everywhere. You get that like wide open spaces kind of just like really sorrowful feeling on that song. And it's like peak Warren Zevon, it's peak Bruce Springsteen. Again, it's just a lot going on. And I like understand there are people out there that can be like, why do you keep comparing her to dudes? And it's like, we're comparing her to an art form, to a style, not to the men that did it.
Yeah.
But it's just, she's got this like incredibly conversational way of telling a story, but it's like so carefully worded. Like Richard Harris, the actor, was one of the like greatest interviews and wordsmiths. Just so charismatic. Margo Price does that with her music. It seems like very effortless, but it's also like very careful. And you don't see it anymore in any song than County Road. That song is absolutely fucking heartbreaking. Dude,
the line, you think you're going to last forever, forever says you're not. That line, I'm like, damn, that's one of those times when it hits you and you like realize what you just heard. And for me, it's always the realization that I was like, well, I would have never come up with that. You know what I mean? It's just so much better than anything you expect at a given, that you would reasonably expect out of any given song. And it also a very kind of Springsteen line. Like I didn't really hear that when I was listening to it, because it's just there's so much in there. It's like you hear what you want. When it comes to like the influences, it seems like she's just taken everything she's ever heard and is just like beaming it out as best she can. I think there's so many different somebody could look at this album and say it's like too all over the place. If you just like kind of jump in and out, you're like, what is this? This doesn't go together. But somehow, like, there's so many different sounds in this album. Like, you would never say that like County Road is that similar to I've Been to the Mountain. It's
no.
I think to me, I think that's the name of that song. I don't know. To me, it's like you have to listen to the whole thing at once, because when it was over, other Spotify songs started playing and I just let it go because I was like, I didn't want it to be over. So usually you'll notice immediately when you're not listening to that artist anymore. And apparently there's a few people that sound similar enough to Margo Price that I didn't notice for a minute. And it just, I wanted it to continue, and I think ending on that song was Landfill, I think was the name of the last song on it. That one to me was just like, we talk about album enders, man. Like in some albums love to go out with a bang, and that can be awesome. But I prefer almost when it goes down on kind of like a leaves your heart right down where it put it in the first place. It doesn't do anything to help you lift it back up. It's just keeps you in that moment, I think, better when they end an album like that. It makes you consider it more. It makes you like kind of, you're not like excited necessarily to go back and listen to it again because it ended on such a note like that. But to me, that's what makes it great, is when it can make you like really feel something. That's what makes an album great. And I think you miss the point if you talk about it being all over the place or anything like that, which I don't think it is at all.
I don't
But I
either.
think that's a criticism that I kind of saw a little bit, is that, she went from a song like County Road, and then you had, Radio, which was like almost like a 90s psychedelic song almost, the way that it sounded, the one she did with Sharon Van Etten.
Mhm.
And to me, that was what made it perfect. I mean, that's what made it feel more authentic, because I was like, I'd rather she not just write a country record because she thinks she's a country artist. Like, I'd rather you just write what you feel that you need to get your point across. And I felt like through this entire album, she did exactly that.
Well, and you gotta wonder what is left to say in the confines of country. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
not a lot, because she was interested in busting out, and I think I don't think it's all over the place at all. I really don't. I think the thing is, you can have like different very conceptual thoughts, like I'm going to write a song that's going to be country, I'm going to write a song that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
R&B, and no matter what you do, even those are two very different genres, your DNA is still in both of them, and that is what keeps this whole thing together. You're going to kind of think a similar way about different things, and that's what she does here. There's like all this kind of genre busting without it being jarring, because it's all Margo Price,
Mm-hmm.
and she's clearly got like so much left in the tank to say. Like, the questions that she like still seems to have that we've heard on other albums and other
Mm-hmm.
songs are still very much there. And there's all kinds of new ones. And like, you have to appreciate someone that's like that introspective and doesn't just start to phone it the fuck in like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people do. Like, what does Blake Shelton have left to say at this point?
What did he have to say in the first place?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Toby Keith.
I mean, I
How do you
can't.
like me now?
So hold on. Toby Keith
I knew
should have
it.
been a
I knew it.
cowboy. Should have been a cowboy. That's elite, all time great. I don't care who sang that. Well, I do care a little bit who sang that song, but that song is elite.
I knew I done gone and pulled your pin.
I mean, I'm not gonna super go to the mat for Toby Keith, but I will say that should have been a cowboy is fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
I love How Do You Like Me Now for no other reason than it's a great punchline. It's a great, like, when someone fucks up, just be like, How do you like me now?
Yeah,
And
and
I'm on my way.
I'm not gonna. Okay, now you did pull my pin. Toby Keith is a lot funnier than people give him credit for. Okay.
Well, I'm laughing at him. Is that what
How
I'm
Do You Like Me
supposed
Now
to
is a
do?
very funny video. As good as I once was.
Yeah.
That
I
song.
legitimately love that song.
That
Only
song
because
is
of you.
that song is phenomenal, and it's hysterical. Very self-deprecating. You know. That's what, and those are really the three. I don't know a whole lot of other. Oh, I guess what's the one he does with Willie Nelson? Beer for My Horses.
Beer for My Horses.
Yeah.
Which my daddy served in the army where he lost his right eye.
Yeah, something like that. But basically, they're talking about hanging people in the streets.
Oh, yeah. What the fuck is that song called?
Beer for My Horses, I think.
No, they're not talking about hanging people from the streets
Yeah.
and beer for my
We'll
horses.
raise up our glasses against evil forces, singing whiskey for my men and beer for my horses.
Where did you get a hanging out of that?
Take all the rope in Texas and find a tall oak tree and hang up them bad guys for all the people to see, or something like that. And Willie Nelson's the one that sings that part.
That's dicey. I guess I've
Yeah.
never listened to any
Yeah.
lyrics but in the chorus of that song. Whoa.
Yeah. They're like serious lawmen.
Yikes. I guess
Yeah.
it's like on some Unforgiven shit.
Yeah. It was, now it's all coming back to me. Grandpappy told my pappy back in my day, son, a man had to pay for all the wicked things he done. Take all the rope in Texas, find a tall oak tree, and hang him high, like something, hang him high in the streets for all the people to see.
We'll raise up our glasses against evil
Exactly.
forces.
Yes.
How delightful.
How
But
delightful.
we
Yeah.
digress.
we did digress, but to be fair, that was your fault. I blame that.
I'll wear it proudly.
Yeah, I blame that completely on you.
Uh-huh.
So back to Margo Price. So really, I think in conclusion for me on this album, like, it's an obvious stream it. Like, I think people, if you like rock and roll, if you like country, if you just like kind of like just singer songwriters, whatever of those you're into, like, you're gonna find it here. I think you're going to find some classic rock on here as well if you're into that, at least a song or two. For me overall, it was just, I think I liked it even better than That's How Rumors Get Started, and I really like that album a lot. And yeah, Hardy, 100% stream it.
It was always going to be a stream it for me, even if it was a dog dick disaster. It is not. It is far from that. If you want to hear a strong perspective, a lot of character, someone who knows who she is and can write very authentically about these things that she's talking about and adds all of this music around it. Like, again, as a big Elvis Costello guy, I heard that Steve Naive organ in there and I smiled, because whether she knew that I would associate it with that or not, how intentional that was, it was just this little different thing that swept in there and made me appreciate it even more. And that's a craftsman, and Margo Price is a craftsman. So obvious stream it for me.
Yeah. I think you'll do yourself a disservice if you don't at least check this one out, because it really was fantastic. Someday Margo Price will be on the pod.
God,
we can ask her all about it.
She's just the best. She's just the coolest. She doesn't take any shit. She's like cheap toilet paper, baby. She doesn't take crap off nobody.
That could be another part of the trailer.
Yeah, there we go.
Too. Yeah, you got to snip that too. Well, is there anything else that you want to plug, or anything else you want to talk about today?
I mean, we did our little YouTube plug at the beginning, but why not remind people that we've got a reaction video coming out. By the time you're hearing this and watching this, Jeff will have already put one out. You have a total embarrassment of riches, and boy, is it embarrassing. So if you want to see those moments and more, you got to make sure you're subscribed. Talk to us in the comments. Promise you it's worth it. We're very responsive. We're very fun. So join the revolution. Bring a friend. YouTube.com/C/out-on-that-line.
And like you said, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time.